Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras, here with ILTV's morning briefing. After coming under fire for conducting secret meetings with Israeli officials, British Minister Priti Patel has just shockingly resigned from office. These meetings, which included a discussion with Prime Minister Netanyahu and a trip to an Israeli hospital treating Syrian refugees, ignited fierce controversy in England. Patel is said to have had 12 separate meetings with various Israeli officials back in August to discuss improving UK-Israeli relations. At the time, however, she had told the UK's foreign ministry that she was merely on a family vacation. When news first exploded of these undisclosed meetings, it was seen as a breach of policy, though not necessarily a career ender. But it was Patel's trip to an Israeli hospital for Syrian refugees in the Golan Heights that sealed her fate. That's because England, like many of the world's countries, doesn't recognize Israel's control of the Golan Heights. In the eyes of the British government, it doesn't matter what Patel's humanitarian motives were. They see the trip as a complete and total game ender. Those on the other end of the argument, of course, see this as a blatant anti-Israel bias, and an ironic one at that. England has historically refused to designate Hamas's political wing as a terror organization, for example. Also of note is that a top Palestinian official from the PLO all but demanded that the United Kingdom's Prime Minister sack Patel over the visit. Prime Minister May has, as it turns out, just accepted Patel's letter of resignation, responding, quote, "It's right you have decided to resign," end quote. For the first time in 8 months, the Palestinian Authority has finally allowed life-saving medical aid to enter the Gaza Strip. Coming amidst ongoing Palestinian unity talks with Hamas, this shipment of medicine is the first real effort by the PA to help the suffering people of Gaza. But many blame the horrific conditions in the Strip, including denying funds for medical treatments and a crippling energy crisis, squarely on the PA to begin with. That's because President Abbas imposed the blockade in order to force Hamas into the current negotiation talks, which so far have yielded success for Abbas's government. Last week, the PA officially took control of all Gaza border crossings from Hamas, and not only that, but Abbas's police chief has just confirmed that all security cooperations with Israel have resumed to full capacity as well. While the shipment of medical aid, over $2 million worth of medicines and treatments, comes at a critical time, many Gazans are still skeptical that conditions will improve anytime soon. A recent change in Israeli policy just doubled the waiting time for Gazans hoping to secure rare exit visas, meaning that the people of Gaza are still at the mercy of Palestinian leaders to improve the humanitarian crisis. According to the Jerusalem Planning and Building Committee, 240 new homes in East Jerusalem have just been granted their building permits. 90 homes will be in the neighborhood of Gilo and 150 will be in Ramat Shlomo. Despite being condemned by much of the international community as well as the Palestinian Authority for allegedly assuming more control over Jerusalem via real estate expansion, there's been a high uptick of building approvals in recent months. 176 homes were approved in East Jerusalem just last month, with news of an additional 10,000 new homes planned to be built in North Jerusalem. Israel responds to condemnation by being unapologetic. The government's working definition of Jerusalem is as the eternal and united capital of the Jewish state. But all the construction news is especially concerning to critics now, as no new Jewish neighborhoods have been built in Jerusalem since the late 90s. The Hasidic community of Kiryas Joel in upstate New York is now set to become the first ultra-Orthodox Jewish town in the United States by 2020, and the first new town in New York in over 35 years. Over 80% of the existing Monroe County, where the 20,000 ultra-Orthodox Jews of Kiryas Joel are seceding from, voted in favor of the measure. After the results of the vote came in, Gedalia Zegedin, the Kiryas Joel village administrator, said, quote, "Today is truly an historic day that will usher in a new era of peace and stability for all the residents of Monroe," end quote. And all the residents of Monroe, Jewish or not, are indeed celebrating. Kiryas Joel and the city of Monroe have been at odds for years, primarily due to the ultra-Orthodox community's rapid population growth, increased influence over the city's government, and aggressive attempts at land grabs. In 2015, the community annexed 164 acres of land in Monroe with the request to receive an additional 500 acres. After the vote, the Monroe government will be free from Kiryas Joel politics, and Kiryas Joel has agreed to take just 56 more acres to complete their future town, and will drop any attempts at taking more in the future. The Israeli Shaare Zedek Medical Center delivers over 22,000 infants every year, more than any other single hospital in the world. So it stands to reason that they'd want to make sure that they have the latest and greatest in neonatal care technology. Well, now the Jerusalem-based hospital will be home to the world's first MRI built especially for infants, premature and older infants alike. The FDA has already approved the Embrace system, which makes it possible to get advanced imaging on babies without endangering them like before. Until now, infants would need to undergo imaging with ultrasounds, which is less accurate, or by an adult-sized MRI, which would require the attending physicians to be in a separate room and for the infant patient to be anesthetized. With this new magnetic resonance instrument, which also uses new technology, the baby would not need to be given anesthetic and would be cradled comfortably in the machine during operation. The hospital staff could remain in the exam room thanks to an iron-based system, and the room can be kept at a comfortable temperature as opposed to the cold rooms that the adult-sized machines must be kept in. Plus, with its smaller size, it can be placed directly in the neonatal unit, removing the need to ever transport the infants too far. Then, as if that wasn't enough, did I mention the new Embrace MRI was free for the Shaare Zedek Medical Center? Because they've been testing it for the manufacturer with permission from the Health Ministry and International Human Experimentation Committees, the hospital will be given the Embrace MRI free of charge to begin using routinely. That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.